Hey everyone, it's Luke, and today I'm going to be covering the 7 known avatars. I'll be ranking them based on my personal preference, so please do not get mad at my decision. This is based off my personal preference, and there might be a couple of placements that some might disagree with, but overall this is just based off my knowledge of the avatars and how I personally think their feats and abilities rank. Now, if you guys want to comment down below on if you agree with my ranking or not, and that's up to you. Anywho, starting at number 7 is obviously Avatar 1. Yes, Avatar 1 is the weakest avatar because he is the first avatar. His bending styles are weak. He has the weakest avatar state. He has no techniques. And while the dude is somewhat of a beast, being able to defeat Vaatu and survive through how many wars? Like 40 years of war? He just doesn't really have a lot going for him. Now, just because he's the weakest avatar doesn't mean that he's weak. Just the fact of being an avatar makes him powerful. But to be honest, there's not really much I can really say about him, honestly. Also, I think the guy's kind of an idiot. I say this because the guy started out as a criminal who used the firebending that the lion turtle gave him to commit crimes. And then he was banished. And then he made the stupid choice of getting in between Rava and Vaatu's fight. So he was forced to go to the other lion turtles to ask them to give him the other 3 bending styles, learn the different bending styles from the different teachers, like the fire bending from the dragons and stuff like that. And then he had to make friends with the spirits, considering that he was exiled into the spirit world, which is where he found Rava in the first place. I don't think the guy was really all that bright. But of course, he merged with Rava, becoming the first avatar, defeated Vaatu, and then had to suffer through 40 years of war before the before the cycle truly started with an air nomad of some kind. With that said, the next avatar coming up at number 6 is Avatar Roku. Now, I know that some people might argue that Roku would be a little higher up on this list, but honestly, yeah, Prime Roku seemed pretty strong, and he easily defeated Fire Lord Sozin, but honestly, there's just several things that I think basically tanks his ranking. And I don't even have to go over his how pathetic he was when he was younger. Like, oh my goodness. Like, the whole thing of him trying to get with his future wife, it was just so hard to watch him. like even after Firelord Sozin pushed him to go talk to her, he just doesn't. Like, I'm sorry, the dude has no riz, no game whatsoever. And yet he ended up marrying the girl he liked. But honestly, that is not anything. That had nothing to do with its ranking. I just wanted to say that I felt like that scene in Avatar: The Last Airbender was both funny and kind of pathetic, but but what I really think tanked his ranking are two factors. One, his indecisiveness. The dude can't make a good decision. Like after defeating Sozin, like after learning that Sozin plans to basically conquer the world with the Fire Nation, and then after coming back after becoming a fully realized Avatar, he comes back to face Sozin and easily defeats him, but spares him, saying, "Because we were friends, I'm gonna let you go. Just know that next time I will kill you." Okay? I just Now I'm not saying that the Avatar should just delete someone from existence because they can. I'm saying that I feel like his friendship with Sozin blinded him to his job as the Avatar. Now, of course, he was known as Roku the Wise, and yes, he does choose to appear in his older age when he was an Avatar spirit, but to be honest, just because he came off as wise doesn't mean he was very smart. Just keep that in mind. Also, his biggest factor would be his failure against the volcano. I know people don't want to judge Roku for this, but honestly, I don't even know how to say this. Like, Avatar Aang at age 12, with just airbending, was able to do a lot better against a erupting volcano than Roku did. And I thought to myself, like, dude, you're on an island surrounded by water. Why couldn't you use waterbending to take out the volcano? And then I'm like, oh wait, never mind. His home village was on that island. And the people on the raft sailing away could have been killed. But then I'm like, well, could you at least use your airbending to do more? And he's like, like, he just doesn't have that many feats that I can think of. Now, one thing that I did I did learn is that supposedly Roku mastered this new form of firebending known as like rainbow fire, that was basically like a neutron star blast, but I have very little knowledge of what that technique even is, so I can't really apply that to the ranking. And supposedly Roku can lava bend, because in Avatar: The Last Airbender, when Roku took over Aang in the Fire Temple, he lava bended against the firebenders, and that makes me wonder, if this dude could lava bend, why couldn't he defeat a volcano? Like did he even use lava bending in that scene? I don't think so. I'm sorry. I don't hate Roku. I think Roku is a great character. I just think it's kind of pathetic how the writers used Roku in the series, honestly. But honestly, if it wasn't for Roku, Aang wouldn't have had to face the 100-year war and had to face arguably the strongest firebender who has ever lived, aka Fire Lord Ozai. Now people, you know what? I want to make that argument when I get to number 5 placement. In number 5, I'm putting Korra. Now, a lot of people are gonna hate me for this, but you know, I honestly don't care. I watched Legend of Korra, and honestly, in my personal opinion, she is a terrible Avatar. And one of the things that I think really breaks her as a character is her damn awful personality. She's arrogant, she's prideful, she's reckless, she's headstrong, she doesn't listen, she isn't easily taught. Like, sure, she's a freaking prodigy when it came to learning the first 3 elements, because apparently it wasn't that hard, but I'm sorry. This girl went against Tenzin, a mentor, and her own father, who constantly told her, do not trust Unalaq. And what she does? She goes against them saying, I know better, and trusts Unalaq. And you know what happens? She gets wrecked, gets rubber ripped out of her, and then loses the Avatar cycle. Now but then she gets Prime Rava and blah 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 blah. But honestly, does Prime Rava really mean anything, honestly? I don't think so. Not to mention her failure against the Red Lotus. Or even Kuvira. Now, I'm not saying Kuvira wasn't a strong fighter. I'm saying that Korra, a non-poison Korra, easily took down Kuvira. Like, even while still poisoned, Korra should have been able to defeat Kuvira. Now, one of the arguments that I want to give to go against Korra is her giant laser beam deflection feat. Because honestly, people are like, well, that feat tanks anything that the other avatars done, even Aang. But honestly, how can you say that? At the end of the first season, she lost the first 3 elements and was never even able to enter the Avatar state because she has no sense of spirituality. She's pathetic. She unlocks airbending out of dumb luck in that moment. She doesn't even know how to use real airbending. And then she gets all mopey and says, I want to be alone. And then Aang's like, oh yeah, by the way, the Avatar gains true strength after reaching their lowest point. Which is true for most heroes, but honestly, did Korra really deserve all the power upgrades that she got from Aang? Aang restored the other 3 elements. He basically unlocked Avatar State for her, which, by the way, her Avatar State is kind of pathetic, considering that she doesn't have the level of ferocity and intensity and just overall, like, aura factor that Aang's Avatar State has, which I will explain later when I talk about Aang. Not to mention, Aang gave Korra energy bending. If it wasn't for that one feat wouldn't have existed. Also, Korra's worst decision ever, opening the spirit portals. Now, it is revealed that in the new Avatar series, Seven Havens, it is revealed that Korra destroys the world. Now, I don't know if it is because she opens up the spirit worlds, but that is what I'm going with. I think that opening the spirit worlds had something to do with her destroying the world. Either that or she goes insane. Either way, I just think Korra is an awful avatar. I don't hate her as a character, I just hate that people keep glazing her up, making her seem to be the greatest avatar ever when she was horrible. She was a terrible avatar. She was an okay character, but a horrible avatar. And I just want you people to stop arguing that Korra is a good avatar, because she wasn't. Now, I don't even want you people to argue, well, Aang messed up just as bad. And no, he didn't. At least what happened with Aang actually made sense for his character. Korra, like, I don't even know what else to say. All I can say is, I don't even know how you people can defend Korra anymore, considering what happens at the end of her era. Anyway, after Korra, is Avatar Yang Chen, and I know very little about Avatar Yang Chen except that she is mentally messed up. Now she is a powerful avatar with her airbending being comparable to Aang's, but her personality is a little twisted. You wouldn't believe how many crimes this woman has committed, and yet she even got banished from the air temples, and yet somehow she was worshipped like a goddess to the airbender culture. Even Aang viewed her like a spiritual leader when she has committed so many crimes. Like the many people that she threatened to kill. Now, canonically, she's never killed anyone, at least not directly. But there is one moment that I heard that is actually canon to her story that I thought was messed up. She took a mother and her child hostage and threatened to blow them up, saying that this wouldn't bother me, considering that I can reincarnate, but you will never come back. And what is just so messed up about this in her book is that supposedly she was laughing about this, like she got enjoyment out of this torture. Now, people might argue, like in her book, she hates combustion benders because her bison got blown up. And because of that one tragedy, people think that she deserves some sympathy. And I somewhat agree that losing her sky bison was horrible, considering that Appa is a fan favorite, so sky bisons were probably pretty loved in the series. And the Avatar community probably loved the sky bisons in general. But I can't really defend Yang Chen. She is so messed up mentally. Like, when she enters the Avatar state, she develops a straight up god complex. She even considered staying in the Avatar state permanently, claiming that the sensation of being in the Avatar state felt so good. And she also and while in the Avatar state, she felt like she was above everything, like she was a goddess. And I'm like, that is seriously messed up. So she tortures people, torments people, caused people to commit suicide because they were terrified of her. Not to mention, she had some of the most terrifying techniques. Like, supposedly she could just snap her fingers and delete someone's respiratory system, which is horrible. What was that other feat that I mentioned earlier? You know what she did to, what Zahir did to the Earth Queen? She can do that. She can basically create a giant vacuum around you, causing you to suffocate to death. She has a supersonic air-bending scream that, when amplified by the Avatar state, she basically shook the spirit world, which is probably equivalent to Goku shaking the infinite void when he transformed into Ultra Instinct, but I don't know if it's the same level of power. Considering that Goku, by Tournament of Power, was already multiversal at base form, so entering Ultra Instinct is arguably... So Mastered Ultra Instinct currently is like Outerversal or something like that. But I don't really deal with power scaling, so what do I know? But also, supposedly she created this technique because she hated combustion benders for obvious reasons. She supposedly created this airbending technique that allowed her to basically create this pocket of air that's able to stop a combustion bender Bender's attack from a point blank range, which is insane. Which honestly kind of felt like what Aang did when he fought Combustion Man for the first time, but I don't even think that was really the same thing. Anyway, that's Avatar Yang Shen. She's terrifying. She's mentally messed up. I would not trust this woman at all. Like, at all. Like, honestly, if it if it came, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna make this argument after I get until after I explain Kyoshi. But Kyoshi's not number 3. You know who is number 3? Kuruk. Now, I have no problems with this dude, but let me just say, this dude is a beast. You know why? Because he spends his entire life dealing with dark spirits, so the mortal world would never have to encounter them. The dude's durability and determination is so insane that he basically spent his entire life, years, days, whatever, just nonstop fighting spirits. And his best feat, you know what? Let me just say this first. Screw it. I don't care if he's a Riz master that can basically get any girl he wants. I don't care if he's supposedly the greatest Paisho player ever who has never lost a single match. This dude was known for his insane battle with Father Glowworm. Easily the most powerful dark spirit ever. Avatar Kuruk. His body was severely damaged. He was at the point of death. You know what he does? He walks up to Father Glowworm and just one shot punched the dude in the face so hard that he tore a hole through the spirit world. One hit. And then Father Glowworm retreated. I guess Kuruk took that as a victory, even though technically he didn't defeat Father Glowworm. Father Glowworm just took the hit and then ran off. Overall, the dude is a beast. I would have actually loved to see more of this dude. And honestly, I feel like screw the writers. I don't know why they just keep on continuing on with new Avatar series when honestly, I don't know why, but I feel like the writers of Avatar should create at least a movie or a mini series of each previous avatars. Of Kyoshi, of Kuruk, of Yang Chen. But, you know, we may never get that. And I probably would say Roku, because honestly, like I said, and honestly, I have never read the Avatar books, so I'm basically just telling you from what I have read. Like, I Googled this stuff. I didn't read it out of the books, but honestly, all of this is supposedly true, so. Anyway, that's Avatar Kuruk. Number 2, Avatar Kyoshi. Now, I know a lot of people would say, wait, Avatar Kyoshi should be number 1 because of this, this, and this. And I'm like, I hear you, I get it. But let me explain why I put Kyoshi here. Okay, so, like I said, I don't really know much about Avatar Kyoshi. I kind of watched a video covering her life, but I don't really remember much, so I'm basically gonna try summing up as much as I know about her. Like, I know that as a teenager, she worked as a maid, but even before learning any of the elements, she had freaking superhuman strength and durability. She was able to do a job that required 10 strong men to do. So she basically had the strength of 10 strong men. That's insane. And not to mention, we're not just talking about normal men here. We're talking about earthbender men. Because let's face it, the people in the earth, let's just face it, earthbenders are just built different. Literally. Not to mention, I know I did hear this one thing that because of Kyoshi's large hands, she's able to easily move giant boulders, but is unable to move smaller rocks. Which I think is kind of stupid, but I don't know. Let's see. Best durability feat I can think of. She was able to tank several. Oh wait, no. Canonically, she tanked 6 lightning strikes in a row before entering the Avatar state and just brutally killing the person who tried attacking her. That's insane. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah. Oh, by the if you're not aware that under her makeup, she does have lightning scars on her arms, but guess people don't. I don't know. Anyway, another thing that I thought was pretty cool is that somehow Kyoshi was was unaware of this and she got hit in the neck by glass. In that moment, she just invented glass bending and just took the pieces out. Yeah. Also, she created this technique, dust stepping, which she basically uses small particles of rock dust to basically imitate the ability of flight. It's kind of like Sanji's air step ability from One Piece. Um, so one thing that I thought was terrifying is that I don't know if I mentioned him yet, but she had this best friend, Yoon, who was a insanely powerful Earthbender, who was claimed to be the Avatar before Kyoshi was revealed to be the Avatar. So supposedly, in this one moment, she froze his heart. Yeah, that's insane. And of course, her one of her best feats is obviously using a mixture of lava bending and air bending to create Kyoshi Island. Mm. But while a lot of these feats were cool slash terrifying, one of the things that I realized that actually made me terrified of Avatar Kyoshi wasn't just the fact that her bending, like the output of her bending, is very destructive, but what like but the thing is, I feel like what made her what I think made her terrifying wasn't necessarily her feats. I feel like it's her mind. Let me explain. This this woman was a general. She was ruthless. She was merciless. And a lot of people might even consider heartless. She has killed thousands and thousands of people without remorse. Now, of course, there were like tyrants like Jin the Conqueror who probably deserved their death, but honestly, it's terrifying. What a lot of people probably didn't know is that she was a strategic fighter. While a lot of what is shown about her is just because she just basically unleashes waves of powerful fire, water, earth, earth and air techniques at people. She was actually a very strategic fighter and strategically used her abilities, but I feel like her intelligence was more about actual like battle strategy than actual like than using creativity in her bending. Overall, Kiyoshi's just downright terrifying. So let me explain what I was about to say before with Yang Chen, but I said I wanted to wait until I mentioned Kiyoshi. It's like, I'm sorry, but if I was in a situation where I had to, if I was in a situation where I was forced into dating one of these three female avatars, yes, I'm straight. I'm sorry. Screw Kiyoshi. Screw Yang Chen. If I had to choose, even though she's my least favorite out of these three, I would have to choose Korra. Honestly, I just feel like dating Korra would be a lot better than these two monsters, if I'm being honest. Now, yes, Korra can be terrifying when in moments like when she enters the Avatar state, she just acts like a wild animal in her fight against Zahir. But honestly, as a normal person, like if it's like if you just Korra in her everyday life outside of being the Avatar is actually pretty chill. And I would probably take Korra over these two if I'm being honest. Wait, I am being honest here. I'm sorry. Okay. My number one, please don't get mad at me for this, but I'm choosing Prime Aang. And just for record, when I say Prime Aang, just like I mentioned in my previous Avatar video, I do not mean 25-year-old Aang who got nerfed in his series because the writers believed he needed to be. No. I mean 40-year-old Aang from the Legend of Korra flashbacks. Now, before I jump into why I think Prime Aang is the strongest, let me go over some things in his series. So, first off, Aang canonically has the strongest Avatar state, and it's not even close. And the reason why I say that is because when the other avatars enter the Avatar state, they get a power boost, but their Avatar states feel a lot more controlled. When 12-year-old Aang enters the Avatar state, he feels like an unstoppable force. The ferocity, the intensity, the aura, he felt like Avatar Aang in his Avatar state felt unstoppable. Like the moment he entered his Avatar state, people were terrified of him. Fire Lord Ozai was terrified of Aang when he saw him in his Avatar state. And honestly, yeah. And like I said in the previous series, the Red Lotus were so terrified of Prime Aang that they decided, nope, screw this. I'm going to wait until an inexperienced Avatar comes along so we can kill that Avatar. Which apparently, even though Korra did come off as weaker than Prime Aang in that fight, she still won. Even though she got poisoned. And then had a depression arc. Oh my goodness, I hate the writing of that show. Anyway. Yeah, Prime Aang just felt unstoppable. No, wait. Just 12-year-old 12-year-old Avatar state Aang felt unstoppable. Not to mention, in the Avatar comics, while Yang Chen stalemated Lord Old Iron, Aang straight up killed him. And I don't even remember if Aang even had any remorse for this. Also, in the comics, yeah, also in the comics, when I think one of his best earthbending feats was creating a large chasm the around Ba Sing Se, which I think is pretty powerful. Now, not to mention Avatar Aang learning energy bending from the lion turtle is probably one of his best moments. I just want to say downright, I personally think that the lion turtles, actually no, I want to say that energy bending is the most overpowered bending style, and it's not even close. But regardless of that, um what other feat? Um I could mention him being able to interact with Code the Face Stealer. That was somewhat interesting. But I feel like one of the things that I find was amazing was the fact that Aang was able to go face to face with the Mother of Faces. Ignore my pun. The Mother of Faces, which, by the way, is a primordial being. Possibly the most powerful being in all of Avatar. More powerful than Prime Lava. More powerful than the Lion Turtles. And he casually just stood in her presence without any problems. Yeah. So, I don't know if I mentioned this with Korra or not. Like the whole thing that if it wasn't for Aang giving her energy bending, that she wouldn't have been able to use that awesome that awesome feat of blocking the energy the energy beam explosion. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my words here. Um. Also, I just want to say this: Lion Turtles greater than Prime Rava. Do as you will with that information. Anyway, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and I guess I want to go over what I hated about the Avatar movie. I think I mentioned this in my previous video, but I hate the fact that in the comics he was able to create a chasm around Ba Sing Se, which was pretty insane. But then he was barely able to earthbend a tower back into place. Now people are like, well, technically he got hurt in that fight, so yeah. Ever since that fight, he could barely do anything. His avatar state wasn't able to. He struggled to hold up that mountain when Taga easily did it. I don't know why, but 25-year-old Aang is supposed to be stronger than 12-year-old Aang. And yes, technically, the output and power of his bending is technically stronger. The way they fight is just pathetic. It wasn't until Aang got the spirit staff that he actually felt. Actually, before I explain that, let me just say Avatar Aang in the Avatar state in the new movie felt no different from the other Avatar states. Like, when I watched this movie, I'm like, I'm sorry, where's all that power? Where's all that intensity? Where's all that aura from the original Avatar series? It just vanished. Like, it wasn't until he got the spirit staff that Aang felt like his original Avatar state self. But, you know what? Screw that. I don't care. I just want to say my final thoughts is that the final thing I want to say is the whole fight with Yukon. Now, people argue, well, if Aang had to use the Avatar state against Yukon, then it wasn't an easy victory. And I argue differently. Because throughout that entire fight, Aang held back. Prime Aang, in that flashback, held back. He held back when he destroyed the carriage. He held back when he entered the Avatar state and terrified Yukon. Like, literally. Yukon was so terrified of Prime Aang that he specifically trained his sons to be able to defeat the Avatar. So yeah, Prime Aang held back in that moment, even in the Avatar state. And because of that fact, I don't think we even know the full potential of Prime Aang in his Avatar state. And because of that fact, and the feats I've mentioned before, I personally think Avatar Aang is the strongest known Avatar. Now, you can either agree with me or disagree with me, and honestly, I feel like a lot of Korra lovers are gonna hate me for this and want to try arguing differently. But you know what? That's your choice. It's not my problem if people disagree with my ranking or not. I just feel like, based off the feats and abilities that we know from these avatars and from the little bits of information I got that came straight out of the books, I feel like this ranking makes sense. And I have seen ranking videos where Korra is always placed either 5th or 4th. So honestly, I feel like this ranking is very valid. Actually, let me make this final point on the last slide. Okay, yeah, this is my final ranking. And honestly, I feel like these placements are very valid. Avatar 1, he's the first Avatar, so he's easily the weakest. Roku, while powerful, his indecisiveness weakened him. Korra, she's powerful, but her pride and arrogance gets in the way of her being a good Avatar. Yang Chen, she's just mentally messed up. I don't know what else to say it. She's powerful, but I feel like she's also somewhat insane. Avatar Kuruk, the dude is a beast. And I feel like this is very valid. Avatar Kyoshi is a monster all on her own. Who basically took on armies all by herself. So yeah. Think of what Avatar 1 went through, going through 40 years of war. Practically by himself. Avatar Kyoshi would have soloed an entire war by herself. That's what I think. And Prime Aang, I have to say, while he's probably not the smartest, I honestly think that he is by far the wisest, the most spiritual, the most good-natured. Overall, I feel like Avatar Aang represents what the Avatar was supposed to be. And honestly, people might argue that him relying on his team was a crutch and basically tanked him. I honestly argue that that's not the case. I think that it's wise for the Avatar to rely on help instead of doing everything on on his or her own. So overall, this is my ranking, and these were my thoughts. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And when you comment, please let me know your thoughts on this ranking. I know that some people might disagree with it, but like I said, that's not my problem. Because this list was based off my own personal preference and what I know about the series. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll be back with my next video. So I feel like I did say that I was gonna go over my my story breakdowns, but I feel like before that I'm gonna go ahead and go over my two gauntlet videos of Electros versus the Superman copycats and then the Superman variants. So I hope you all enjoy this video, and I'll be back with one of those too. Okay, thanks. Bye.